about ready to kick things off with another incredible championship event.
From Jack Murphy Stadium in beautiful San Diego, California, my name is Jerry Devine, and with me is National Motorsports commentator Brett Kepner.
Well, thank you, Jerry. Probably the most incredible aspect of this event so far has been the fact that throughout the pre-race ceremonies, we were plagued by a light drizzle. It's still raining just a little bit, but the race fans are still packing Jack Murphy Stadium. Jerry, this could be one of the largest crowds of the year.
It certainly looks like it could be, Brett. 13 of the best monster trucks all over the country are here tonight, and they're going after the $100,000 Camel Points Championship.
And it should be a war, Jerry. And, of course, we've also got USHRA Association Super Modified Mud Racing. As a matter of fact, we have the Super Mods and the Unlimiteds back again for the second straight event. We've got Scotty Kirby, the Anaheim winner, Wendy Tarman, the lady driver of the Californian, a full field of killers.
Right now, we've got Gene Patterson, driver of Bigfoot, down on the stadium floor. Gene, how does it look tonight?
Well, there's 11 other trucks here tonight that's going to try to knock the Ford Bigfoot down one more notch, and we're not going to let it happen here in San Diego because we're here for the fans.
Well, Gene, the rain has got to concern you. How is the drizzle going to affect your strategy?
Well, the rain's going to affect the competition dramatically because the track's going to be real greasy at the start. The first 3 or 4 trucks are going to have a problem. We draw the low number, and our Goodyear Terra tires are going to give us an excellent grip. We can maintain it to get over the cars with the BDS power. Hopefully, we'll be at the finish line at the end.
Best of luck, Gene.
Thank you very much.
Well, Brett, tonight we've got a little bit different track configuration than we had at Anaheim.
That's true. As opposed to the last few events, we've seen circular tracks. This one is pretty much side-by-side drag racing, straight arrow action. As you can see, the course itself is actually 150 feet long with another 150 feet of shutdown area, but with only one set of cars in the center and then a flat on-the-ground finish line, we're probably going to see some elapsed times in the mid-5-second range. It should offer some very, very close racing.
We're going to get into that racing in just a moment with the monster truck qualifying. Stay with us.
This ESPN program is brought to you by new mentholatum deep heating sport in action fast.
Welcome back to the 1990 USHRA Association Camel Mud Racing and Monster Truck National Championship Tour, this time from Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, California, and we're just about ready to start monster truck qualifying. Jerry, with the rain out there, this could be an interesting session.
Certainly could be. We're watching qualifying of the monster trucks, and the qualifying will give us the pairings of the first round of competition.
We should probably point out that they only have one qualifying run each. This is a one-shot deal.
That's right, Brett, and also we'll be watching just one monster truck at a time. So we're going to have a good look at each one of the monster trucks as they make their qualifying pass. Coming up first, it's going to be the Ecology Eliminator. It'll be driven tonight by Jim Ries.
I'll tell you what, Jerry, that was an incredible run considering the fact that we were just talking about how slippery it's going to be. 4.10 seconds is substantially quicker than we thought we were going to see.
Well, coming up next will be Bearfoot, driven tonight by Warren Davis.
It's going to be exceptionally tough to better that 410. Looked like Davis may have actually had a problem down there near the finish line, dropping the right side tires off the cars. Don't look for this to be the #1 spot. 4.10 seconds is the mark to beat. Warren Davis, the Montana driver of the Bearfoot Chevy, runs 7.17 seconds. That's going to put him way down in the field later on.
Next pair coming up to the line, it's going to be the AM/PM Boss, driven tonight by Robert Parker.
Saw this machine do exceptionally well at Anaheim at the second event of the season. A heavyweight Chevrolet, but still a strong truck. Boy, now that was as smooth as glass, Jerry. You couldn't ask for a better run. 6.29 seconds, just a little bit conservative, but good enough for the #2 spot.
Coming up next, Larry Tura behind the controls of Hercules.
The Ohio driver with the Ford Ranger and Ford Power.
Eases it over.
You can definitely see that these drivers are starting to be concerned with the wet surface of the track, and being conservative is going to be the name of the game just to get a decent spot in the middle of the field here. The elapsed time for Larry Tura, 7.97 seconds. That will probably keep him in.
Coming up next, Hot Stuff with Todd Blazer behind the controls. Here's one to keep an eye on. Whoa.
Blazer's not going to worry about any slippery course. This is the young man we saw do so well at the very first event of the year in Seattle, Washington. That short wheelbase Chevy powered Jeep runs 4.59 seconds. Great run under these conditions.
Here's the Terminator, Mark Jaleski, doing the driving.
This is a relatively new truck, fairly heavy with big block Chevrolet power, but it'll be interesting to see how it does. I'll tell you, that thing has a loose suspension. It was all over the place, but managed to keep at least 3 wheels on the ground. Gillespie's relatively new entry should be somewhere in the mid-6s there. 7 seconds flat. That'll be good enough right now for one of the top 5 spots.
We'll talk about heavy. Here's one of the heaviest ones tonight, the Iron Butterfly. Terry McLaughlin driving.
McLaughlin doing everything he can to get 22,000 pounds in the Iron Butterfly van over those cars. You'll notice it never did put a wheel up in the air. 6.99 seconds. Actually, that's pretty serious for these conditions.
Look at this. This is four-wheel crazy Rob Morris.
Indeed, the young man who won the last event of the Tour at Anaheim in a serious underdog effort. Whoa! And again, look at sparks coming out from underneath the front end. He may have damaged the front drive unit. The elapsed time, 5.31 seconds, will be good for third, but he's looking for points.
Alan Pizzo with the Predator.
Another guy we saw do so well at Anaheim.
It's the man.
Actually got a lot more air than I thought he would, considering that he left the starting line pretty easily. The semifinalist from our last event runs 6.02 seconds. That'll be good for one of the top 6 spots.
The Skull Crusher, Steve Helms. Beautiful machine. He's ready to go.
One of the heavier Fords in competition. The Crusher waiting for the start signal.
Puts the pedal down.
Well, you see some of these guys trying to take it easy, and that other one's just coming out and bonsaiing it. Right now, Helms at 6.24 seconds will be in the top half of the field, and I don't think these guys are too concerned with the slipperiness of the track.
Well, we talked to him earlier. Here's Gene Patterson now with Bigfoot.
Obviously, the crowd loves every minute of this Big Blue Ford's performances. The #1 spot right now, 4.10 seconds. That's the mark to beat for Patterson, the Missouri driver in Chandler's Supercharged Ford.
This is qualifying for first round pairings that we're watching right now. Here we go, Gene Patterson.
I'll tell you, had he not nosedived that thing on the next to last car, that would have been even quicker. 4.55 seconds. Tell you what, he used up every inch of stopping distance, but here's one of the wildest drivers on the circuit.
You better believe it. This is Jeff Painter with High Voltage, a short wheelbase machine. Let's watch him now.
He's always one of the wildest out there, never fails to put on a show. #1 spot, 410.
Wow!
Unbelievable landing on the left front wheel only. Painter makes a serious charge for the pole. Runs 5.12 seconds, and that'll be good enough for the #4 qualifying spot, Jer.
Final truck to qualify out, the Exterminator, driver Gary Schott.
Big Chevrolet that did quite well at Anaheim as well. Moves up for his attempt at qualifying into this field.
Good launch.
Schott with his head right out the window the whole way. He keeps an eye on things and takes it easily through. Again, the objective here not to shoot for the #1 spot, just to get the truck across the wet surface, as we are still dealing with a drizzle situation here. 6.52 seconds for the California Chevy.
Great round of qualifying.
Well, Jerry, we saw some pretty interesting runs in that session. Jim Ries in the Eliminator Chevy is #1 qualifier. This is only the 2nd event for that truck ever. Gene Patterson and Bigfoot is #2. A rookie, Todd Blazer, in the Hot Stuff Jeep is #3. And, of course, Jeff Painter, the Wild Man himself, in the High Voltage Jeep is #4.
Talk about fast machines. Coming up, the Super Modified. So stay with us. Welcome back, and it's time for the Super Modified.
That's right, Jerry. The most incredible off-road machines in the world. The quickest and fastest mud racers ever already on the line. Dwayne Masonheimer in the Twist and Shout Jeep. Full-body machine will be the first man trying to qualify for the Camel Quick 4.
Brings it up. He's just about ready to hit the pedal, and he's on his way.
Dwayne Masonheimer, the very first man through this 80-foot-long mud pit. And, Jerry, it looks like this pit is going to be a fast one. You can see not very much tire spin to speak of off the starting line. Very close to the left side berm there. The first elapsed time, 2.79 seconds for the Chevy-powered Jeep. We should point out the 4 quickest elapsed times in this first round. Go to the Camel Shootout for extra money.
This ought to be something else. Coming up next, a psychotic reaction. Glenn Willard doing the driving. He's from Santa Monica.
Very interesting Jeep. Funny car utilizing a fuel-injected, nitrous oxide-injected, small block Chevrolet. Only 372 cubic inches.
Whoa, he locks it up, and he's okay.
I'll tell you what, that was an excellent run, and that little small block was making enough power to pick up the front wheels almost all the way through. Watch on the replay. It hooks up very, very well. Look at the tire distortion on that thing. 2.46 seconds. That's an excellent run for a small block without a supercharger, Jerry.
You can sure see those tires swell up.
That's for sure.
Well, coming up next, this is John Morris with Harry Scary.
Just saw this machine at the most recent event on the tour in Anaheim, California. It is powerful, an aluminum Donovan Chrysler Heavy, supercharged and fuel injected.
Cleans it out. He's just about ready to put the pedal down. Let's watch him now. This is John Morris, Harry Scary.
Great launch, beautiful run. Certainly Morris has got to be thrilled with that effort. Yeah, hands up to the crowd on the replay. Perfectly straight, makes a little bit of a move at the finish line, but he drives her out the back. 2.17 seconds. I would think, even with this track being as quick as it is, that'll probably hold up for one of the quick 4.
Well, this is Gary Mink. You can see a good tight shot there of Gary Mink. Bad to the Bone, the name of his machine, from Fresno, California.
A fuel-injected small block again, but this time in a 2,700-pound vehicle.
Good run.
Not a bad effort at all for a heavy machine that is definitely giving up 500 or 600 pounds to some of its competitors at this event. Again, these machines seem to be moving around a lot down at the finish time, but the elapsed time, great for Bad to the Bone. 2.47 seconds. It's a tremendous pass for that vehicle.
Well, this one here, this is a real lean, mean, bad machine. Tough enough. David Taylor. This is an 89 Chevy pickup.
Well, it's certainly what's left of it.
454 cubic inch blown engine. Wow!
Completely sideways at the finish line and now on his roof. Obviously, David Taylor has serious problems. The safety crew already there, Jeff.
Well, they're checking him out, making sure that he is all right. David Taylor is still inside.
You can see him moving around. It looks like they're just trying to get him out from an upside-down position at this point.
It's difficult to get those seat belts, shoulder harnesses off in that position.
I'll tell you, that couldn't have been a wilder ride. Just a hard left hook at the finish line. They're pulling him out.
Right through the windshield.
He is all right. We can hear from our event announcer, Larry Huffman. There's our event director, Jim Harris, giving him a pat on the back. What a ride. Obviously, the crew quite concerned. It looks like Taylor is still dazed from that roll, Jim.
It certainly does. They're trying to get the machine back on its all 4 wheels now. And, oh, look at this.
It is definitely damaged. You can see that the right front tire is flat and the body's destroyed. We'll have to see how bad it's going to be. Here's the replay. Perfectly straight until it makes a move to the right-hand berm, bounces off it, but look at the elapsed time, 2.17 seconds. That will qualify him for the quick 4.
Well, coming up next, the fastest woman in the sport from Cerritos, California, Wendy Tarman and her Californian. She's a businesswoman full-time, but a racer at heart. Keep your eyes on this one. Supercharged Wendy Tarman.
Unbelievable run for Wendy. She had to go quicker than 2.47 seconds to qualify for the Camel Shootout. Straight as an arrow. Look at her working in the cockpit of this machine. 2.26 seconds. The Valvoline Californian qualifies for the quick 4. I'll tell you, we've got an unbelievable field so far, but Jerry, we've got more.
Coming up, more Super Modifieds giving it all they've got. So stay with us. Welcome back to the U.S. Hot Rod Mud and Monster Truck Racing Championships, brought to you in part by Kicker, high-performance automotive speakers by Stillwater Designs. We're in first round of Super Modifieds. Coming up next, Wasted Wages. Driver Larry Shives in an 87 Ford Ranger. Larry's about ready to launch it. Here we go.
It's an extremely unusual machine. Larry Shives usually runs in the modified category. This is a carbureted, gas-burning small block Ford in a full-bodied Ford Ranger. One of the first times he's ever entered as a super modified, bouncing all over the place at the finish line. The elapsed time, though, 3.06 seconds. Won't be good enough to get into the Camel shootout. It takes a run right now, Jerry, of 2.46 seconds to qualify.
That brings up next Jess Carlson with the Mudbuster. This is an 89 Jeep funny car, popular body style here in Southern California, powered by a 427 cubic inch Chevrolet. It's blown and injected. Short wheelbase, this ought to be a good one. Keep your eyes on this one now. This is Jess Carlson. Mudbuster. Wow! Power slides it around.
I'll tell you, a wild finish for Jess Carlson. This machine is always tough. We saw him really strong in Anaheim, California a few weeks ago. Watch this thing make a move at the finish line. Completely sideways. He keeps it straight. 2.27 seconds will put him in the program.
All right, here's Roy Scotty Kirby now from Fontana, California. He was the winner at Anaheim, running a 482 cubic inch blown and alcohol burning Chevrolet. Let's watch him now. This has got a brand new extended front end on it. Roy Kirby, Fontana, California, getting ready to go. Lots of horsepower. It's supercharged. Watch him.
I'll tell you what, big-time motor problems. That's not steam off the exhaust headers. That's motor smoke for Scotty Kirby. Big-time problems at the finish line. He had to go quicker than 2.27 seconds to get in the field. 2.41 seconds will not do it. That is a big, big upset, Jerry.
Well, coming up next is the man that at Anaheim set the low elapsed time for a 100-foot mud pit at 1.86 seconds. Tom Etheridge with Top Dog. Let's see what he does here.
Well, you don't have to be a nuclear physicist to figure that one out, and you can see how upset Etheridge is. Not a bit of power going to the front end. The man who set the 100-foot pit world elapsed time record will not be a factor here, Jerry.
Next from Shaver Lake, California, John Harmon and the Kamikaze Kid.
Whoa! Unbelievable run. You could not ask for a wilder pass. Harmon with one of the biggest power stands in mud racing history. Then a nose over past the finish line. He's out and okay. Unbelievable.
Well, let's check that replay on that one.
You got to remember, this is Harmon's first time as a super modified, and that's AMC power yanking those front wheels. He stays in the throttle, bounces it off the right-hand side berm, and then it got really wild, Jer.
Well, he slams on the brakes right at the finish line, and whoa, right over he goes.
You can see the roll cage does exactly what it's supposed to. It protected him. He was hanging upside down.
All right, this is Kenny Goodman, illegal.
Tell you, the new illegal speed machine is a radical entry, a narrowed length in 1990 Chevrolet, a 586 cubic inch aluminum Chevy power plant. It's one of the heavier super modifieds out there. You can see a lot of tire spin as he leaves the starting line. The elapsed time, 2.41 seconds, will not be good enough to get in the Camel Quick Pool. In fact, our qualifiers for the Camel Shootout include John Morris and the Harry Scary, Wendy Tarman and the Californian, and Jess Carlson's Mudbuster. The question is, can number 2 qualifier David Taylor make it back after that crash, Jerry?
Well, when we come back, we're going to go into the unlimited mud racing class. We're back at San Diego with the unlimited mud racing class. Coming up first, Control, Eric Lopez from Vista, California. Painter by trade, 78 Chevy, ready to go. Control, the name of the machine, Eric Lopez.
Lopez doing everything he could just to make it through this pit as we move into the unlimited division. Remember, as opposed to the super modified entries that skip across the surface, these are 7,000-pound machines, Jerry.
The Gold Bricker, Paul Crafisi from Las Vegas, Black Mason by trade.
supercharged 460 cubic inch Ford in this heavyweight, and that was a heck of a run. 3.10 seconds, in fact, for the Goldbricker. And remember, we don't have a quick four shootout in the unlimited class. This is one run, and the quickest elapsed time wins the title.
Here's Daddy's Toy with Kenny Goodman behind the controls. An 89 Chevy, powered by a 586 cubic inch blown machine.
Could be a world record for front-wheel drive. There was no power going to the rear wheels. Here you can see the incredible tire speed he gets on the front as he just keeps that blown big block Chevy floored. The elapsed time, 4.66 seconds. Like I said, not bad for front-wheel drive.
Here's Ed Gerber with the Mud Pup from Bakersfield, California. His motto, it's not the bark, it's the bite that counts.
Tremendous pass for one of the unlimited machines. You very seldom see a 2-second run, and that's going to be one. You bet. 2.81 seconds for Gerber. He'll take over the number one spot. Look at that. 5,500 pounds of Chevy literally flying out of the finish line.
And now from Sun Valley, California, Tony Loza with the Frantic Falcon.
Wow! Tremendous ride for Tony Loza's 1965 Ford Falcon. I'll tell you, you don't see one of these machines launch off the starting line like this. Look at the elapsed time, 2.42 seconds. Taking a nosedive at the finish line. That is the quickest unlimited run in 80-foot mud racing history, Jerry. Unbelievable ride.
Well, here's the unnamed and untamed Bill Oliver from Mountain View, California. 1942 vintage, and this is only the second run for this vehicle since it was completely totaled 2 months ago.
Big time problems down at the finish line for Oliver. You'll remember that this machine did so well at Anaheim, California at the last event we covered. The rear engine front driver configuration Willys definitely bogs down at the finish line. The elapsed time only 3.26 seconds. That's a shame. That is definitely a crowd favorite racer, Jerry.
The crowd loves this one. It's a beautiful machine, kind of an unusual design. Well, coming up next, the Titanic's Revenge. This is Jim Winning from Tucson, Arizona. Welder and mechanic by trade, a 76 Ford.
Tell you, a great starting line launch, but we're definitely getting some ruts down there at the finish line that is affecting the performance of every one of these vehicles. You can see the machine bouncing off the right-hand side of the berm there at the finish line. It's rough, 2.82 seconds.
Here's Breathless, driven by Brad White of Duncan, Arizona. 79 Ford, 454 cubic inch Chevy motor.
Boy, this thing has some weight transfer. The extended wheelbase on this vehicle seems to help a lot, considering the fact that truck's getting so rough. Watch the starting line launch. This thing really never varies at all from a perfectly straight line. Tremendous elapsed time, 2.68 seconds. That'll be good for the number 2 spot.
The Wild Thing, Larry Harrison doing the driving from Clipper Mills, California. Chevy S10 with a 454 alcohol-injected Chevy.
If nothing else, you get an indication of just how deep this 80-foot-long mud pit is. Down at the finish line, that machine started to sink like the Titanic down there. 3.40 seconds, and indeed no threat to leader Tony Loza in the Frantic Falcon. You can see that this is an honest 40 inches of mud, Jerry.
Coming up next will be the Mustang, Jim Dara, a 67 Mustang with a 460 cubic inch Ford engine.
This is another one that's an extreme crowd favorite. Well, the crowd obviously disappointed, but not nearly as disappointed as Jim Dara. Again, you can see this thing go down 6,500 pounds of 68 Mustang as it finally sinks in and just barely makes it to the finish line at 3.88 seconds. Again, no threat.
427 cubic inch Ford, a 60 Ford Galaxy. Look at this, a beautiful full-bodied machine, and this is owned by Larry Harrison.
Great run for Harrison's original 64 Galaxy XL, certainly one of the most popular machines on our ESPN US Hot Rod coverage. This thing seems to attend every unlimited race, 2.73 seconds. That is an absolute career best for Larry's 7,000-pound Ford. Great run.
Well, the final racer in this division will be David Ezel, Empty Pockets. Coming up next,
the Chevrolet step side. I'll Tell you what, going down to the bottom of that pit just before the finish line, he had to go quicker than the new world record 2:42 by the Tony Loza-driven Frantic Falcon. He will not even be close, as the Chevrolet seemed way down on power. For that matter, at the finish line, it was way down in the mud. Well, we've seen some tremendous super modified and unlimited racing, Jerry. We've got some ruts developing down at the finish line that's going to make the Camel shootout real interesting, but I didn't think I'd ever see a 2.42-second unlimited run, and Tony Loza was incredible.
He certainly was. We've got Tony Loza down on the stadium floor right now. Tony, you've had some serious problems over the last few months, but a great comeback.
Well, starting October of last year, I've broken about 3 cranks, and it's just been a low-budget type of a situation putting it back together. Every time we put it back together, it breaks, so you don't get too much money when you break. So it's been since October since I've been in the car until tonight.
How did it feel to get back in the bog on your maiden voyage?
Very scary being back in the car tonight. Everybody kept telling me it was going to be okay, but I don't know. I don't believe them.
Well, congratulations on that new world's record.
Well, thank you very much.
A wild, wild ride for a great guy. He almost sounded nervous back there, Jerry. Indeed, an incredible mud racing program. But coming up next, round 1 of monster truck racing, side-by-side eliminations, when we return with the U.S. Hobbit Association Camel Mud Racing and Monster Truck National Championship Tour in just a moment. Welcome back to San Diego for the U.S. Hobbit Association Mud Racing and Monster Truck Championships. Jerry, we've got monster truck racing online.
Here we go. First 2 coming up. It's going to be Bigfoot, driven by Gene Patterson, going against Robert Parker, the AM/PM boss.
No contest there as the big blue Ford takes it on the very first pair, the very first round, and obviously the crowd loves every bit of it. It looks like Patterson got the whole shot. Then he did another one of those nosedives on the next to last car, Jerry, at 5.30 seconds. He was 0.2 of a second ahead of the AM/PM boss, but that's still about 0.8 seconds slower than he went in qualifying.
Great run for both machines. Left side, it's going to be Bearfoot. Warren Davis doing the driving against the Predator, Alan Pizzo. Side-by-side racing. Here we go.
What a battle. Alan Pizzo had that one, Jerry.
It was a great run. Look at this now.
See him hit both in the air about the same point. Now watch Pizzo on the right side. He takes a nosedive. The front end comes way up, and that's all Warren Davis needed to drive around right there. About a half a truck length, but it was enough, somewhat of an upset. And Bearfoot at 5.29 seconds. That's the quickest winning run we've seen.
Oh, yes. All right. The Terminator, Mark Jaleski, will be driving, and he'll be going against four-wheel crazy Rob Morris from Fort Worth, Texas.
Morris, of course, the young man who won Anaheim.
Close.
Manages to pull this one out. I'll tell you, it looked like Morris was behind at about the quarter track mark, and then the Chevrolet started to fall back, or the Ford drove around, one of the two. You can see again, he's using still a little bit of a conservative approach. He only cleared 3 cars on that jump. So again, the car is still being a little wet at 5.89 seconds. You can tell Morris was taking it easy.
He certainly got him at the finish line. All right, next pair. It's going to be the Skull Crusher, Steve Helms. It'll be on the left side of your screen, and he'll be going against Hercules, Larry Tura.
Another Ford and Chevy match. Got a lot of them. The crowd should love it. No question, Jerry, driving won that race. Helms got the whole shot, and a big whole shot at that. Look at that, almost a truck length as they hit the first set of cars. Then you could see that the Hercules machine just could never recover from that whole shot. A 6.03 second winning time to a losing 7.55 for Tura. The Chevrolet Crusher advances.
Well, Brett, this one coming up ought to be very interesting. The Exterminator with Gary Schott doing the driving. He'll be going against Hot Stuff, Todd Blazer.
I'll tell you, both drivers had to do some wheeling in that one. Blazer on the brakes hard in the short wheelbase Jeep. There's no question that this young man in his second race ever is going to be a star. 4.71 seconds. sideways landing that puts him up in the air a second time. He stays in the throttle, never gets off the gas to take that win. I should point out, Jerry, the most unfortunate aspect of this first round is that one of the up-and-coming stars on the U.S. Hobbit Association Trail, Jeff Baintner's Jeep, the high-voltage machine, could not make it out for this first round after breaking something after qualifying. In fact, the Iron Butterfly van, which took advantage of his break, will move in against the four-wheel crazy of Rob Morris. Take a look, though, at the second pair of the next round. The one everybody came to see, Jerry, Bigfoot versus Bearfoot.
It certainly is going to be a good one. That second round of competition is going to be unbelievable.
It's true. You got the Eliminator versus the AMPM Boss. The Eliminator, of course, in its second ever race. An amazing job so far for that machine. And the Skull Crusher will take on the Hot Stuff Jeep of young Todd Blazer. Second round should be outrageous, no question.
Well, talk about outrageous. The wraps are coming off of one of the most incredible machines you have ever seen, Brett. This is called Robosaurus.
The world debut of what may well be the most incredible single machine ever built anywhere. Jerry, Doug Malwicki out of California has come up, look at this thing, with one of the most unbelievable things you'll ever see.
You're going to be seeing this in a special motion picture that's going to be made this summer. It's also going to be part of a television series. Robosaurus, it's 40 feet tall. It weighs 56,000 pounds.
You know what's incredible? They have two guys inside the head of this thing that run it, Doug Malwicki and his crew, and I believe there's more to it than that, isn't there?
Well, that's right. There is a third person that is part of the ground crew that is in radio communication with the two fellows that are operating this right in the head area of the machine itself. Robosaurus.
You can see it incinerating this car. Now, Robosaurus can actually eat cars. Look at the people down on the floor of Jack Murphy Stadium. They literally cannot believe their eyes. The crowd is in stunned silence at this point.
Well, it took 18 months to build this machine, and it crushes 4,000-pound cars. In fact, it eats them.
Simply amazing. This is one of the most incredible things you will ever witness as far as the way it is operated. Since it does have people inside of it, it can do just about anything through a series of air brakes, cylinders, valves, pumps, air suspensions, you name it. Take a look at Robosaurus chomping on a Toyota here.
There it goes. Rips the roof right off of it.
Unbelievable. Simply astounding. The flame out of the nose. Now the crowd's coming alive.
Oh, they love this one. Robosaurus is his name, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of this machine.
Simply unbelievable. I'll tell you what, if anything can ever touch this, I want to see it. Simply incredible. Doug Malwicki's Robosaurus car-eating monster.
Well, they can use some of those on the California freeways.
The thing's incredible, isn't it? You know, Doug Malwicki, the inventor and designer that created Robosaurus, spent over $2 million making that thing. You're going to be seeing a lot more of it, though. Tell you, we've got monsters of the more traditional variety coming up next as we get into round number 2 of monster truck action from San Diego. Hot Rod Association Camel, Mud Racing, and Monster Truck Championship Series here in San Diego, brought to you in part by Kicker Stereo Speakers, high-performance automotive speakers by Stillwater Designs. Brett Kepner and Jerry Devine with you. Jerry, we're moving into the second round of Monster Truck Racing.
Yes, it's the Eliminator with Jim Ries behind the controls going against the AMPM boss, Robert Parker, driving.
I'll tell you, we talked a lot about the Eliminator on the left-hand side, only its second event, #1 qualifier. Here it is in the quarterfinals. It should be awfully interesting. Ries is a relatively new driver, too.
Got to win to stay into the program from now on. Here we go.
And no contest as Ries drives away from the boss in this all-Chevrolet battle. Jerry, I'm almost inclined to think that Ries is going to be a little bit stronger than even the people thought he was going to be after #1 qualifier. On the slow motion replay, you can see basically an even start. No real hole shot advantage, but even by the time they got to their car ramps, it was Ries and this still primered Chevrolet, I should point out, driving away. That thing is still so new they haven't had a chance to paint it. The elapsed time, 6.03 seconds for the AMPM boss, but not even close.
Well, here's the rivalry. Bearfoot going against Bigfoot. Now, we're going to be telling you in a few minutes how you can learn about the fascinating story between these two monsters and why they're such bitter enemies. So you might want to get a pencil and paper handy. Warren Davis driving Bearfoot, Gene Patterson driving Bigfoot. Here we go. Ford and Chevrolet.
I'll tell you, Davis starts to move in on him at the finish line, but that race was won on Gene Patterson's driving reactions. The starting line whole shot went to the Big Blue Ford. Look at the crowd. Every time these two get together, Jerry, the crowd is literally going crazy.
Oh, they love it.
It helps when you pump him up a little too, doesn't it? Patterson out of the cockpit, letting the fans know that he was driving for the Ford freaks out there. But as you pointed out, Jerry, this battle is so intense. And again, Patterson got the whole shot. That's what he needed. 5.12 seconds for Bigfoot, 5.56 for Bearfoot. Wild landing by Patterson. That's where Warren Davis started moving in on him, but it was still 3/4 of a truck at the finish line.
All right, here's four-wheel crazy. Rob Morse doing the driving. And he'll be going against the Iron Butterfly, Terry McLaughlin. Close.
You know, I'll tell you, I am amazed that was as close as it was. McLaughlin was out in front at half track. It wasn't until the last 30 or 40 feet that Rob Morris really got a serious advantage. 650 to 664, 14 of a second between them. There you see the Anaheim winner driving around by about a half truck length, but 22,000-pound van kept pace, no question.
All right, here we go with the Skull Crusher. Steve Helms doing the driving. And he'll be going against Hot Stuff, Todd Blazer. This ought to be a good one.
Blazer sideways, actually in front of his opponent down in the shutdown area. That was as much of a driving job by Helms in the Crusher as it was by Blazer in the red Jeep. The Hot Stuff machine actually got off the starting line second. The whole shot went to the green Chevrolet, but there you see Blazer in the air for almost the entire length of Crush cars. Now watch at the finish line, he gets sideways when he lands with the front wheels crooked, Jerry.
He did get crossed up, but he got it straightened out, and everything is all right. Short wheelbase machine. This is it, the Camel Shootout, the Fast Four Mud Racers coming back. Coming up first, it'll be the Mudbuster, Jess Carlson.
Wow! Rough ride by Jess Carlson as he gets to set the pace here in the Camel Shootout. The four quickest qualifiers going for extra money in the overall win. 2.16 seconds for Carlson. He ran 2.17 in qualifying to lead that field. That's the quickest run we've seen so far, and that's a heck of a mark to beat.
2:16. Now that's the mark that Wendy Tarman, our next racer, is going to be going against. The California. And Wendy has got some strong female supporters here in the audience tonight. Let's watch now as Wendy Tarman tries to break that mark, 2.16.
Tremendous run, airborne at the finish line. Wendy Tarman puts down what has to be the best run of this event so far. A little bit of an exhaust header fire there, a little extra oil on the exhaust headers igniting, but it quickly goes out. But man, did the lady put one down. Look at this pass, 2.14 seconds. But watch her as she hits that run in the finish line we were talking about earlier. Man, what a driving job. She's driving it while the rear end is 4 feet in the air, Jerry, and she'll take the #1 spot.
She certainly has with a 2.14. Well, that brings up next David Taylor with Tough Enough. Now, this is the one that rolled over, and they've taken the body off, and David Taylor is going to have to shoot for that 2.14 second mark.
Tell you what, a comeback from that crash. Another unbelievable finish, and David Taylor may have put it on Wendy Tarman big. Again, a beautiful starting line launch. They did a tremendous job getting this thing back into shape. Look at the elapsed time, the quickest run of the event, 2:04. Now watch at the finish line. He almost puts it over again. Incredible ride, Jerry.
Well, that puts the pressure now on John Morris with Harry Scary. Now, he turned a 2.17 in qualifying, so let's see what he does now. Harry Scary, John Morris.
I'll tell you, Morris is going to get to the finish line no matter what. You saw him put the left front wheel outside the berm. That would have been a disqualification in itself. I'll tell you, though, driving is what saved this thing from going over. Now, you see it hook immediately to the left off the starting line. He puts the left front right up on the berm. Then it starts taking down cones and markers. He gets it stopped, nails the throttle again, just getting it straightened out, and comes across the finish line. You know, even with that run, Jerry, he still goes 2.56 seconds with all those problems. But David Taylor comes back from one of the worst possible crashes to win this incredible super modified Camel shootout. You couldn't ask for a more bizarre way to finish this thing up.
Great, great racing. Well, here they come, Brett. The Monsters are back for the final battle to determine the pairing for the race which will give us tonight's King of the Beast, the truck which will rack up the most points in the 1990 $100,000 Camel Series. The Eliminator with Jim Ries will be going against Bigfoot Gene Patterson.
Now we get to see what Ries and the Eliminator's really capable of. Number one qualifier taking on Bigfoot in another Ford and Chevy battle. This will be interesting.
It certainly will. Blue truck is Bigfoot. The primer machine is the Eliminator, Jim Ries. Here we go. They are ready. Upset.
Unbelievable upset. Now, I'll tell you what, for the third straight run, Gene Patterson nosedived the Big Blue Ford into the next to last car, and that's what kept him from winning this match. The Elam's tied 5.52 seconds for Bigfoot. There's the nosedive that put the front end back up. Patterson had to get out of the throttle just for a minute. Boy, he almost tore the right rear tire right off the rim there on the landing. In the meantime, in the other lane, Ries was driving on by at the finish line. What an upset.
All right, now we have four-wheel crazy Rob Morris. He'll be on the left side of your screen. Rob Morris from Fort Worth, Texas. He'll be going against Hot Stuff, Todd Blazer.
Now, Jerry, we saw the four-wheel crazy Ford win in its first ever event at Anaheim. Here's Todd Blazer's Jeep in its second ever event. Who do you think's going to win?
Well, that short wheelbase Jeep is certainly one to keep an eye on. The Jeep takes the win.
I'll tell you, I would never have believed it after Rob Morris's domination of Anaheim. Todd Blazer, in only his second event, the Wisconsin driver in the Jeep, puts her way up in the air and takes another rough landing. That short wheelbase Jeep just wants to go everywhere when it comes down onto the cars. He'll advance to the final round at 5.34 seconds, about 15 hundredths of a second slower than Eliminator, but it'll be the big red Jeep against the primered Chevrolet of Jim Ries in the final round here at San Diego.
Well, here is that final round, and this is the first time for both of these drivers to be in the finals. The Eliminator, Jim Ries, going against Hot Stuff, Todd Blazer.
Tell you, you don't know who to pick, the number one qualifier against the number three qualifier. This should be interesting.
Both machines about ready to go. The drivers watching the starter. Here we go. It's Jim Ries.
I'll tell you, Blazer was really moving in on him down there at the finish line, but indeed, Jim Ries takes his first ever national event win on the U.S. Hot Association Camel Monster Truck Racing Tour. The machine so new it is still primered, takes out a rookie driver in the other lane. What a way to finish this event. You couldn't ask for more incredible action. Just saw mud racing upsets galore. Now this incredible battle. Jim Ries takes his first ever win.
Well, Jim Ries climbing out of the truck right now to talk to the crowd. Look at this replay.
They hit the cars about even. There really was no hole shot to speak of. Now you see Ries get a serious advantage on the cars, but Blazer actually made up half of that down by the finish line. It was a half truck at the marker, and the Chevrolet picks it up. Look at Blazer driving after him even after they passed the finish line. He didn't want to see that Chevrolet out in front of him.
A great night of racing here at San Diego.
Well, we have definitely seen some incredible action on the U.S. Hot Association Camel Tour this year, Jerry. 3 events so far. We've seen 3 different super modified mud race winners, 3 different monster truck winners, and even 2 different unlimited winners in the mud racing.
And it's anybody's race in the 1990 Camel Mud Monster Series.
That's true. I'll tell you, this battle is going to get even wilder, and you can become a bigger part of U.S. Hot Association action simply by sending a postcard to the address you see on your screen and becoming an associate member of the U.S. Hot Association. Send it to U.S. Hot Association Department ESPN, 477 East Butterfield Road in Lombard, Illinois, 60148. Your associate membership will get you special information on events coming to your area and a chance to save big money on tickets for those events, as well as U.S. Hot Rod Association souvenirs. Send now and stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Let's go now to the winner of the Monster Truck Division, Jim Ries. Jim, on your last event, you rolled the truck. Tell us what happened.
Well, at our last show, the truck was new, and we turned the truck over. And it was a brand new truck. We brought it out for the first time, and we turned it over early in the race. We had a good qualifying time, and we thought we were going to do real well, and we turned it over, and we've been working real hard to get here, and it's been a real good show for us here. We're really glad to come out this way.
And rightfully so, a tremendous job. But you had to feel a little bit anxious coming into an event with this kind of competition. Did you really think you could pull it out?
Well, I wasn't really sure. I picked a #1 qualifier, and I thought my luck wasn't going to be with me. We qualified in the top, the fastest qualifier, and I kind of had a feeling from that point on we were going to do really good.
You certainly did, Guy. Congratulations on your first national event win.
Thank you very much.
I'll tell you, with 3 different event winners and 3 different events on ESPN, and the monster truck battle is definitely up for grabs, Jerry.
It certainly is. Well, let's talk now to the winner in the super modified class, David Taylor. David, that first run of yours with that barrel roll was nothing short of spectacular. What happened?
Okay, on the first run, at the end of the pit, the car went airborne. It came down on the front end and popped the right front tire, and the vehicle flipped.
Well, the fact that you came back at all was nothing short of incredible. You had to thrash in the pits.
After we got the car out into the pits, we looked it over, and the only damage was done to the body. And we just had to air up a couple tires and take the fiberglass body off, and it was ready to run.
Simply unbelievable.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Jerry, in the point standings, the Bigfoot team retains their #1 position by virtue of their semifinal finish here today, and the four-wheel crazy team of Rob Morris moves up a spot to #3. In the super modified mud points, 2-time world champ Tom Martin leads with the Mud Patrol, but Scotty Kirby does hang on to the #10 spot by virtue of his finish here today. We'll see you next from New Orleans. On behalf of myself, Rick Ebner, and Jerry Devine, thanks for being with us. This has been an SRO Pace Motorsports production in association with ESPN.